them a satisfaction they couldn't get any other way.
what a great day. Huh? What a great day today. Isn't it? Huh? What a great day. Any good games today? Do you know how sweet it's going to be to ruin these people's season, to end these people's season for the second year in a row? Beating Florida is fun anytime, but beating them when they think they're going to have something is the absolute best, isn't it? Because you know how Florida fans are, right? You know how they're any year Florida doesn't win the East, it's because they're terrible and whoever did win the East was no good and they only won it because Florida was terrible. That wasn't the case last year, was it? Not the case this year. Let us know right now, Florida fans, are you good this year? Let us know, because every time Georgia humiliates you, it's the same excuse. It's the same excuse every time. Oh, yeah. Congratulations, you beat a 4-win McElwain. Well, no good. Oh, congratulations, you beat Dan Mullen in his first year. You beat Dan Mullen in his first year. Oh, damn, yeah, we lost to Kentucky and Georgia. Look at Georgia fan bragging about beating them. We lost to Kentucky. We wasn't no good. That's what they tell you. Then they brag all offseason about finishing third in the East. Like that means something. These people. So let us know right now, Florida fan, are you good? Let us know now. Don't come on here tomorrow talking about how you were overrated and were no good and that's why you lost. Don't come on here with that tomorrow like you've done the last 2 years in a row. Don't do it. Why has Georgia humiliated you 5 out of the last 8 years? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Hey, guess what? Guess what? My best friend, Paul Feinbaum, picked Georgia to roll today. And guess what he said? Jake Fromm is going to have an amazing game, outplay Kyle Trask, and that Jack Fromm is going to win the game for the Dogs today. He's going to have an amazing game, according to Paul Feinbaum. So that pretty much sets it right there. I mean, that's pretty much all we need to know right there and two. So what are we doing here? Call in and tell me why I'm wrong. 706-786-4481. Yeah, there are some other games today. Obviously, I was kidding earlier. But it's not a great day of college football. Let's just be real. If you're a college football fan, you're watching my Georgia Bulldogs today. Just admit it. Just admit it. Even if your team's playing at 3:30, unless you're a Florida State or a Miami fan, because that game comes on at 3:30 too. Other than that, though, if you're a college football fan and you're not a Florida State or Miami fan, tell Uncle Lou you're watching Georgia today. We know you are. Of course you're watching Georgia today. Zaninga and Grenard, I'm a little bit tired of hearing about Zaninga and Grenard, to be honest with you. They can't play to run, and who cares if we throw the ball or not? We don't have to throw the ball to be. We beat you 42-7 a couple of years ago, and Jake Fromm was like 4 of 7. I mean, I don't get it. You can't stop the run, and you can't run the ball. Go back and look at the history of this series. Even when Florida was good and dominating, it's the team that runs the ball that wins this game, and that ain't Florida, Jack. Florida season is coming to an end. And Georgia's punching its ticket to the SEC championship game again. Florida fan going to be mad as hell. I mean, listen, there ain't a person on planet Earth who thinks Florida has any chance to win the SEC this year. There are some people who think they can win the East, but there's nobody outside of the Florida fan base who thinks the Florida Gators have a chance to win the SEC. I can tell you right now who Alabama and LSU want to win the East. They're rooting for Florida today. I can tell you that with certainty. The Gump and the Corn Dog are Florida fans today. 100. They don't want to see my Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta. I can tell you that right now. Hell, Georgia's been better than Alabama each of the last 2 seasons. Once Kirby Smart figures out what the hell he's doing as far as in-game coaching goes, Nick Saban is done. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you something else, too. Guess who the worst quarterback Georgia played was last year? If you're a Georgia fan, who was the worst quarterback we played last year? Who was it? You know who it was? I'll tell you who it was. You know who the worst quarterback we played all year was last year? Tua Tagovailoa. That was the worst quarterback we played last year. Tua looked like he had never seen a football before. Alabama better lose to LSU if they want to get into playoffs. That's all I'm telling you right now. If Alabama wants to get in the playoffs, they better sign up for that 2017 plan they were on, because they're not beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. That's just, I mean, doesn't everyone know that? Yeah, they do. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Florida fan, listen, in all seriousness, it's been a lot of fun with you Florida fans on the channel this year. We are going to miss you. We know you'll be back probably mid-January, early February or so to start telling us how good you're going to be in 2020. But I've had a lot of fun with you guys this season. So to those of you who are fixing to go the way of the Dodo Bird, the way of Gamecock Steve, the way of Deep Barat, salute, and we will 100% miss you. So get it in while you can, before about 6:30 or 7 today, because after that, we already know. Yeah, we just do. There are some other games today. Man, I'm on a roll this morning. But how are y'all doing, though? Is everyone good? Trips, you know, I'm giving y'all a hard time. There will be some Florida fans who will leave, though. I mean, that's just the nature of what happens here. Braves WS, thank you for the super chat, sir. Georgia wins 26-21 today. Lou and Luther doesn't speak pineapple. No, he doesn't. I always speak pineapple, Woo. Yeah. I'm fired up today. I am fired up today. Melissa May, good morning in that. And also, I haven't decided what I'm eating today or what I'm cooking today. I'm going to have y'all help me out with that in a little bit. Let's do this. There's one person on hold. Let me go ahead and get to this one person on hold. 706-786-4481 is the number if you want to be on the show. Let me get this person that's on hold, and then I'm going to pull up today's schedule, and we'll go through it again. And I'm telling you, there's not a whole lot to get excited about, but we'll look through it and see what we can find to watch at each time slot today. And that. In addition to that as well, too. Yeah, good morning in that.
Good morning, Uncle Lou. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. How are you, though?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. It's college football, so I'm always happy.
No doubt.
Yeah, we all know the playoff race is going to be really excited going down the end, but I think something else that's going to be really exciting to watch, too, is that Group of 5 race and how that's going to shape out.
Yeah, you know,
we saw Appalachian.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we saw Appalachian State go down on Thursday. I mean, that might stir some things up. I mean, SMU has to play Memphis today.
Yeah, and
so there could be some shake-up there.
Yeah, Memphis is actually favored by 6. I mean, they're at home, but I don't know. I like SMU in that game. I think SMU is going to end up being the Group of 5 team that is going to end up being the best Group of 5 team.
Yep, I mean, it's got a tough run. I mean, even if they do get past Memphis today, they still got Navy, who's still sitting on 1 loss. The option teams are always tough to play. And you still have to win your conference championship. I mean, if you don't win your conference championship, you can't get into the group of near 6 anyways. And Cincinnati is sitting right behind them now, and they still have to win.
Whoa. What are you talking about? If you don't win your conference, you can't get into a New Year's 6 game?
If you're a Group of 5 team.
Oh, okay. That's your opinion, or
If you're Group of 5, you have to be a conference champion to get in.
is that true?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right.
And so Cincinnati still has to win their conference championship. And one thing that's interesting, Boise State, San Diego State are both ranked in the top 25 right now.
So it's
They
not
both
the
win
highest
their
ranked.
remaining games.
So it's not the highest ranked Group of 5 team that gets in. It's the highest ranked Group
Highest
of 5
ranked
team
conference
that wins
champion.
their conference.
Yep.
Okay.
So Boise State and San Diego State both win out. They'll both be with one loss playing for their conference championship game. There could be some New Year's Six implications there. And I think it's just going to be really interesting to watch
Right.
how this Group of 5 unfolds.
Yeah, people are on the edge of their seat waiting to find out which Group of 5 team is going to make a New Year's Six bowl.
I don't know if there's a lot of people praying for that. I mean, I'm a college football fanatic, so I watch it all.
Right.
I like to watch everything. So, I mean, it's interesting to me. It might not be interesting to a lot of people, but
So
I
who
do
wins?
like to watch some of those
I
Group
mean,
of
you going
5
to tell us
teams,
who wins
because a
some
lot
of
of
these
those-
games, or what? Who's winning, SMU or Memphis?
Oof, I don't know. I mean, I think that game could go either way. I'm kind of leaning a little towards SMU today, but Memphis could play though.
No doubt.
And that's the thing about a lot of these Group of 5 teams is these guys have players too. These teams play with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they do some entertaining football. But I think what I want to end it off with, Uncle Lou, is I know a lot of people like to troll you, but you're my favorite college football entertainer, and this is one thing that I look forward to is getting to tune into the Uncle Lou show. And I know a lot of people like to give you a hard time, but just know that you're appreciated, dude, and just keep doing what you do.
I appreciate that, sir. So you got Cincinnati at East Carolina. Who wins that?
Oh, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think what is East Carolina, 2-5?
Doesn't matter. SMU at Memphis.
It doesn't
Who
matter.
wins?
I mean, I'm not saying that records matter. I'm just saying I don't think East Carolina is going to beat Cincinnati
Right.
at all.
So you got Cincinnati. SMU at Memphis. You have.
I got SMU
All right.
on that one.
Yep, of course you do. Boise State at San Jose State.
Boise State.
Okay.
I think Boise State out of the Group of 5 is the team that I'm pulling for the most.
Boise.
I'd have to say.
Yeah. Cincinnati has the best loss.
Yeah, Cincinnati does have the best loss.
I mean,
agree
they
with
got
that.
blown out, but it was they have the of the one loss teams, their one loss is to the best team. Is what I'm.
I mean,
trying to say.
I think you can overlook a blowout loss to a team like Ohio State on the road a lot more than a loss on the road to a BYU.
Let me ask
So
you
I
this:
could kind of see that.
Cincinnati and Memphis. Memphis has a win over Ole Miss. Cincinnati has a win over UCLA. Which is more impressive?
Oh, two dumpster fire teams. They were both at home too, weren't they? That's a tough one. I mean, I think I'd give the edge to Ole Miss, to the Ole Miss win.
So if it were to come down to, say, Memphis versus Cincinnati on who got into that New Year's Six Bowl, you would go with Memphis right now, you think?
No, I think I'd go with Cincinnati.
Okay.
Just because personally, I think Cincinnati's a better team.
Right. I believe you. I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I like Cincinnati.
But I'm still pulling for Boise State in there to make it in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you calling in this morning. Thank you for the kind words about Uncle Lou. I don't hear that all that often, so it is nice to hear. So I appreciate that.
Well, it's true.
I hope you enjoy your Saturday of college football, and I'm going to give you one opportunity here to answer correctly. Georgia or Florida?
Georgia all day.
You know what? You might be the greatest caller we've ever had. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend. Yeah, that was amazing. Listen, the guy knows his football. What can you say? He just ran down the group of 5 for you. Not very many of you can do that. He just seems like a very smart individual to me. So, I don't know. Don't know him personally. But from what little bit I do know about him, in terms of giving me a whole lot of compliments and picking Georgia to beat Florida, I would have to say that he sounds like a pretty smart individual. I don't know. It just seems like it to me. All right, let's see what actually is coming on today that's worth watching at each time slot. Of course, Baylor beat West Virginia on Thursday. We talked about that yesterday on the morning show. It ended up being a good game. Came down to the end. I was impressed with Baylor's defense. I thought the defense played really good. Bunch of sacks. Offensively, weird game here. Big 12 game, 17-14. You don't see too many of those in the Big 12, but it ended up being a pretty good game. And, of course, we just talked about App State going down to Georgia Southern, 24-20, 24-21. Navy versus UConn last night. Navy rolled. So congrats to Navy. Michigan at Maryland. Michigan should win this one. Michigan's an inconsistent team, though. If the offense doesn't show up and Maryland plays like they did 6 weeks ago, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, maybe you give Maryland a chance here, but I think it's hard to pick Maryland to win that game right now. NC State at Wake Forest. I think that'll be a close game. I'm going to go with Wake Forest at home, though. What else we got at 12? Nebraska at Purdue. Nebraska's been a disappointment this year. There's no sugarcoating it. I don't think there's anything Nebraska can do the rest of this season to make their season a success. I think it's already a failure. They should have been better this year, I think, than what they've been. They have not met expectations, in my opinion. Maybe the expectations were overblown, but whose fault is that? Partly mine. I pumped them up the offseason too. Boston College at Syracuse, no one cares. That's it for the noon games. Afternoon games. Virginia Tech at Notre Dame. Could be a good game. Virginia Tech is better than they get credit for being, I think, which sounds weird to say because they're not very good, but I think they're not the trash can that I think some people make them out to be. I don't expect them to win on the road at Notre Dame. We'll see how Notre Dame reacts to that beatdown they took at the hands of Jim Harbaugh last week. That one comes on 2:30 on NBC. So you can watch an hour of that if you're bored before the real game starts at 3:30. Georgia versus Florida, number 8 versus number 6. While the winner of this game doesn't technically win the East today, they pretty much wrap it up. Whichever team wins today would have to lose 2 more SEC games to not win the East, and I don't think very many people expect that to happen. So basically, the SEC East championship game today, maybe Missouri. Florida's got to play Missouri, Georgia's got to play Auburn, so each team's got a couple of tough games left, but it would be a disaster if whoever won today's game between Georgia and Florida ended up not winning the East. That would be that would be an implosion of biblical proportions. But it could happen. Kansas State at Kansas. Can Les Miles pull off what happened here? I don't know. No one knows. That's the point. Kansas State at Kansas. Can Les Miles pull off an upset here? I think this game will be closer than some people think. It's at Kansas. Might get interesting. Miami at Florida State. Of course, we've talked about that a couple of times this week. It's just a shame. I'm not a Miami or Florida State fan, obviously, but that's just one of those games. It just doesn't seem right that game is as meaningless as it is. I don't know. It just seems it seems like college football is better when those teams are good. And right now, neither one of those teams is good. They're just not. That's not trash talk. That's just me as a football fan. You want to see the Miami versus Florida State game mean something, and this one doesn't. Outside of bragging rights for those two schools and fan bases, nationally and even within the ACC, this game just means absolutely nothing, and that's just a shame. I think TCU at Oklahoma State could be a good game. Wofford at Clemson, no one cares. Utah at Washington. Now, this is an important important game here. Utah and Oregon each have one loss. They're each in the top 10. Neither one of them can afford to lose another game in terms of making a playoff. I think they're on the outside looking in terms of making the playoff anyway, even with one loss. With two losses, there's just no chance. Utah needs to win the rest of their games, and they need Oregon to win the rest of their games. Same thing for Oregon. Oregon needs to win the rest of their games, and they need Utah to win the rest of their games. When Utah and Oregon, if that's what ends up happening, if Utah and Oregon play in the Pac-12 title game, whoever wins that game needs to beat a top 10 win-loss team. So both of these teams need the other team to be in the top 10 if they end up playing in the Pac-12 title game to have a shot to get in. I wouldn't put money on it at this point. I think we need a few more losses before you could start really saying that might happen. But this is a dangerous game for Utah on the road at Washington. Washington's looked really good at points this year. They've looked really bad at times, too. A loss to Cal. We'll see. A road game for Utah. They got to win that one. Pittsburgh at Georgia Tech. What's the over-under on that one? 11? Ole Miss at Auburn. I do think Auburn wins that game, but I took Ole Miss in the points. Natives are restless on the plains. They're already with the fire gust now because, Joey Gatewood's leaving. You already know what's going to happen when they get blown out by Georgia and Auburn and Georgia and Alabama at the end of the year. Not going to be good. Not going to be good at the Cal College. Barner very mad this week. UAB at Tennessee at 7 o'clock. I'll watch that game tonight for sure. Can Tennessee keep it going from last week? UAB is no pushover. They shouldn't be beating Tennessee, but they're no pushover. We'll see if Tennessee can sort of keep it going after that big win they had at home last week over South Carolina. But that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Of course, the game day game, 7:30 on ABC, SMU at Memphis. SMU undefeated, Memphis with one loss. Vanderbilt at South Carolina. I like South Carolina in that one. Virginia at North Carolina. Two teams that a lot of people were talking about in September and not very many people were talking about in October. Who's going to win that one? I kind of like North Carolina at home, especially if that defensive front for North Carolina can figure out a way to slow down Bryce Perkins, that quarterback for Virginia. Oregon at USC. Everything I said about Utah at Washington, exactly the same for Oregon at USC. Oregon and Utah both have dangerous games today. Both on the road. Oregon at Southern Cal, Utah at Washington. Southern Cal and Washington are not elite teams, but they are teams that if they play well enough, they can compete. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see one upset out of those two games. I think it's more likely that Utah loses than Oregon loses. They're both favorites, though, but both of those teams need to win, and both those teams need the other team to win. So it's interesting to keep an eye on both of those games, even if you're not a Pac-12 fan, just to try to figure out, okay, after today, will the Pac-12 still have a chance to make it to the college football playoff? We'll see. If both teams win, I think that increases their chances. If either team loses or both lose, that decreases or knocks out their chances. So we'll keep an eye on it and see. Boise State at San Jose State, no one cares. Colorado at UCLA, over-under on that game. What was the over-under on the other one I mentioned? 11. Over-under on that one might be 12.5. So that's that. That's that. So what are you guys going to watch today? Who's in the comment? Dennis Wilson, good morning, sir. Good luck today. Your Miami Hurricanes against big rival for you, FSU. Good luck to you, sir. Alejandro Ramirez, what's up, buddy? Radiant Noah, Donnie Shepard, Hype Litsky, Brian Wallace, Hurricane Logan. Morning, sir. Good to see you back. A high Auburn fan, Brian Wallace, John Rosado, Jarvin S. Hound Dog, what's up, buddy? We didn't run the general off of here, did we? Might have ran the general off the other day. I might have been a little hard on the general, but I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. And basically he was asking for it. But still, I like the general. He's been around a long time. I hope I didn't go over the top with him and run him off. I haven't seen him since, when was that, Tuesday night. So we'll see. Will, Radiant Noah, John Rosado, Lee Braddock, Rocky, Goldsmith, Ivan, Dressler, Bulldog, Freakazoid, Alfred the Savage, J.T. Thompson, Jay Bolton, Matt Jones, Drew Campbell, GSW 3011, Mr. Sandman, Mike Reiser, Travis Thompson, 90, Clemson, Chase Whittle, Tom, Matt, Kyle, Sprayberry, McD Sports, the Glitter Gator. Good morning. All right, let's see who's on the phone here. You know what? I'm thinking about not even answering this. It says, well, we'll let him have his fun. Good morning.
Morning, Lou.
Yeah, what's up?
I got one quick question for you this morning. This is Matt from College Station called in. I just wanted to say one more time, thanks for letting me call in for the morning show yesterday. And then my question as far as today goes, what's your biggest call for an upset today? I know there's not many ranked teams playing, specifically in that top 5. 4 of the top 5 aren't playing, 5 of the top 10 aren't playing.
Yeah.
Who do you think's got the biggest chance to get an upset? We'll say minus the SMU Memphis game, because that's 2 ranked teams, and
Oregon or Utah.
The underdog is
probably Oregon or Utah. I mean, they're both ranked in the top 10. Oregon plays on the road at Southern Cal. Utah plays on the road at Washington. I think Southern Cal and Washington aren't great teams, but I think they're good teams, and I think they're good enough to compete and maybe even beat some really good teams if they – it's going to be one of those things. I mean, upsets are upsets for a reason, so it's the usual thing, right? If Southern Cal plays a perfect game, doesn't turn the ball over, and maybe forces Oregon into a couple of mistakes, maybe they find a way to win. Same thing for Washington against Utah. But I don't think it's a given that Utah and Oregon both will win today. So those would be the 2 biggest chances for upsets within the top 10, I think.
All right, sounds good to me. Thanks, Luke.
All right. Have a great day. Coach O, thank you for the super chat, Coach. Of course, your corn dogs are off today, preparing for their trip to T-Town next week, which, of course, is everyone will be talking about that game next week, right? LSU and Bama. Tua has the most famous ankle in the world right now. Yeah, good morning in that.
Hello?
Yeah, good morning in that.
Hey, what's up, man? It's Hurricane Logan. How you doing?
What's up, Logan? I'm doing good. How are you, buddy?
Bro, I literally just woke up to your notification. I'm over here in Colorado at 7:30.
Well, listen, man, you have nailed a lot of the Miami games this year when you've called in like the week of a lot of these games. So, what are your feelings about the game today?
So with Florida State, man, first of all, it depends what Miami team comes out because we're the most inconsistent team in college football. At the same time, I hope we've turned it around because statistically looking at the games, the last few games we've literally cut back on penalties. We went from like averaging 13 penalties a game to 2 to 3, which is great, especially for a young team that's brand new when it comes to the coaching staff also. And then, I mean, our offensive line has been absolutely awful, but they are young with a new coach also. And we've, Pittsburgh leads the country in sacks, and we only gave up 2 to them, so that's great. But all that left alone, I just hope that this team is, for this game specifically against Florida State, man, I'm looking at coaching because this is 100% on the coaches right now. Like, this is on preparation. There's nothing to worry about with Florida State. All they have is Cam Akers and Terry on offense. Their defense is sorry, except for their safety. They're okay. But, their defense gave up 619 yards to Boise State, who beat Marshall 14-7. Louisiana Popeye's Chicken Monroe put up 44 points in them in overtime. You know what I'm saying? So there's no reason that we honestly don't blow this team out, but it's how the coaching is and how they come out and have them prepared.
Yeah. Huge game for both schools. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. As a college football fan, it just doesn't seem right that this should be one of the biggest games of the year in college football. I don't care personally about Florida State or Miami, but it's just a shame that forget like playoff or national implications. This game doesn't even have any ACC implications, and it just doesn't seem
Weird.
It just seems weird. I mean, for the majority of most people watching this, for the majority of those people's lifetimes, Florida State and Miami have both been really, really good programs. And the number of years where they've both been bad, I mean, you could probably count those years on one hand over the last 25 years or so. So as a college football fan, this is just one of those games that I wish meant more this year. But it is what it is. Both teams, new coaching staff.
I got some questions for you, if you don't mind, too.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, first of all, this isn't a question, this is a statement. Please beat Florida. Please.
Oh.
Please. Like, Florida swears they're back and they're going to the Natty next year. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
They call Miami trash, but that Miami team was a muff punt away or a drop touchdown pass away from beating them, so whatever.
Yeah.
Please beat Florida. And, what do you guys need to do to beat Florida? Because I know you're not high on, I think, your offensive play calling, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think if Georgia can run the ball, I think they'll win the game. If they can't, they probably won't, if I'm going to be honest here. Florida's probably got the best secondary of any team we've played so far this year, and we haven't exactly lit it up in the air this year. But Georgia's got an elite ground game, and if that can get going, if Fromm can complete some passes on first down, it doesn't have to be a lot of them. It's just got to be enough to maybe try to keep that defense a little bit honest. Then I think Georgia will win the game. If you look throughout, history in this game, usually it's the team that runs the ball well in this game that wins. Florida has no running game. So, and Kirby Smart, and we can say whatever we want. He's made some terrible in-game decisions in big moments. We all know that, all the choke jokes and all that kind of stuff. But if there's one thing I trust Kirby Smart to do, it's make it really, really hard for a one-dimensional offense, and that's what Florida is. So I don't expect Kyle Trask to throw for 300 yards in this game. I don't think that'll happen. Not that he's not good enough to do it, but for all of Kirby Smart's downfalls, we have to give him credit for what he's good at, and that's a defensive mind. Florida is one-dimensional. They don't run the ball well. I think they're going to have a hard time scoring points today. I think if anybody gets to 30 points, they probably win the game. And I like Georgia's chances. I do think Jake Fromm will play good today. What will his stats or whatever be? I don't know. I'm thinking somewhere between 20 and 25 pass attempts for around 180 to 200 yards. And if Georgia can run the ball for another 200 yards, I think we'll probably win the game.
I'm surprised that you guys are struggling with James Coley. When he was at Miami, I personally loved him as a coordinator. Maybe he just did better with our Florida talent. I don't know. But going with that, hopefully in the red zone you guys use Lawrence Cager because, like you said, Florida secondary is really good. And, I mean, we all know how big Cager is. He could definitely be a good mismatch.
Yeah, he's been one of our best receivers this year. He's been battling an injury. He didn't play against Kentucky a couple of weeks ago. He got hurt against South Carolina the week before. But we had a bye week. He's supposed to play today. But he's had sort of a couple of different injuries that have just been nagging him all year. He's been sort of in and out of a lot of games this year. So I'm hoping to have him back. Hopefully he can contribute. Eli Wolf, tight end, hope to have him back. A couple of other guys, offensive line guys, some defensive guys. Tyson Campbell. I mean, Florida's in the same boat. They, listen, it's November. Every team's got injuries. So this was a good time for Georgia and Florida really to have a bye week. Florida gets some of their defensive line guys back that have been banged up. Georgia gets some guys back that have been banged up. So both teams will be as close to 100% as they've been since week one. So I think we're in for a pretty good game here. And as far as what you said about Coley, I mean, I'll argue with Georgia fans about this. It seems like 20 hours a day. But, everything was Chaney's fault last year. It was all his fault. In 2017, it was just because Fromm was a freshman. That's why he was only throwing for 140 yards a game because he was just a freshman. And then in 2018, everything was Jim Chaney's fault. Now this year, everything's James Coley's fault. I mean, like you said, when he was at Miami, James Coley had something called Stephen Morris throwing for over 3,000 yards at Miami. So, and Fromm's on pace. Fromm's on pace for another 2,800 yard year. So, I mean, it could be that Fromm is just a 2,800 yard quarterback. Maybe it's not because he was a freshman. Maybe it's not Chaney's fault. Maybe it's not Coley's fault. Some of these people might just have to accept the fact that Jake Fromm is a 2,800-yard-a-year quarterback, and that's just what you're going to get out of him, no matter what plays you call, what wide receivers you have, or what offensive coordinator you have. I mean, you know how hard it is to throw for almost exactly 2,800 yards every single year? I mean, that's hard to do. I mean, I think he was 2,700 and something and change in 2017, 2,800 and change in 2018. So he's very consistent. But and right now, through 7 games, he's got 1,400 yards. If we play 14 games, by my math, that would be 2,800 yards. So it could be he's just a 2,800-yard quarterback. I mean, we all know he's winless when he attempts over 30 passes. So the idea that he's going to come out and throw for 3,500 yards this year or 4,000 yards this year is ridiculous, because if he did that, we would be 0-12.
Yep.
So,
dude, what you just said though is exactly Miami offense, and that's what I've been trying to tell people, but they just don't. They don't get it. Like, it's not Dan Enos. I think Dan Enos is an elite quarterbacks coach, and I think he definitely has the chance to be a great offensive coordinator. But, like, people don't understand, our quarterbacks are bad. They're bad. Like, Jaron is the better guy, and he's our QB1, but he's not good. He's not good. And then when you have an offensive line that is giving up the most sacks in the country, even though they're improving, it's not going to help. But I've said this whole season that if you put Brad Kaya behind that offensive line and this offense, we probably maybe have one loss due to a shitty kicker. Excuse my language.
right.
But our quarterbacks just aren't good, man. They're not good, man.
Well,
And Clemson's not good either. They almost lost to North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? That's terrible.
yeah. Clemson's terrible. They might be. Hell, they might be the 5th best team in America.
All right, man. I'll let you go.
All right, Logan. Thanks for the call, buddy. I appreciate it. Good luck today, man. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. I wish that game wasn't on at 3:30. I wish that game was on at noon. I could pay more attention to it, but it comes on the same time the Georgia game comes on. Stephen Roberts, thank you for the super chat. Just so you know, my one-eyed, left-footed cousin drools in his Fruit Loops. I 100% believe you. What are you doing 9 weeks from Tuesday? Because I'm going to come kick your butt. That was great yesterday, wasn't it? Everybody needs to. I should clip that 7 or 8 minute segment out of yesterday's morning show and upload that as a separate video, because really that's an important life lesson that a lot of people need to learn. A lot of people need to watch that. And thank you for the super chat, sir. Jay Rizzle Drizzle, thank you for the super chat. Morning, Lou. What's up on my Trolls shirt? What Trolls shirt? Are you owed some kind of a shirt? What's up on my Trolls shirt? I'm not sure what you're asking. I don't have a Trolls shirt, do I? Anyway, if you're owed a shirt for something and I'm just not remembering, then email me. I'm not sure what you're asking there, which is probably a me problem. Probably a me problem. Yeah. Alex, thank you for the super chat. Morning, Lou. Due to the lack of games this weekend, the country's eyes are on Georgia, Florida. Hope it's a good game either way without injury. I do think it'll be a good game. I would be surprised if Georgia blows them out again. I know we've blown them out the last couple of times. I would be surprised if it was a blowout this year. I just have a feeling this game's going to be a little closer. Probably a one-score game, which is why in the preview and prediction video I took Florida in the points. I do think Georgia will win, but I think it's more likely that this is a one-score game than it is a three-score game like it was last year, or a five-score game like it was the year before. Hurricane Logan, much respect, Lou. Appreciate you a lot. Good luck. Let's see Florida and Florida State lose today. That would be fine with me. I would have no problem or complaint. Twere that the case, sir. Of that, I can assure you. Yeah. Hey, yeah, good morning in that. You're on with Uncle Lou and also.
Good morning. Good morning, Uncle Lou. It's McD Sports Sport. How are you doing this fine morning?
Doing good.
So as you know why I'm calling up. I'm here to talk about the best noon game, actually, in my opinion. And I'm not being biased in saying this. I think Michigan and Maryland is probably your best noon game, honestly, since the noon slate's that bad. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Maryland's going to come on top. I have no faith in Jim Harbaugh. I have no faith in Michigan's offense. Their defense is pretty good, but Maryland, they're going to pitch some. They're a big play offense. They're going to get away with a few big plays, and their defense is going to hold them. And we're going to come through with the upset and continue this trend with 3 touchdown underdogs going ahead and pulling off upsets. What do you think?
I wouldn't play Maryland on the money line. Like, I don't think Maryland's going to win this game. Maryland has just been absolutely horrible since week 3.
And I agree. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I know we're not being Ohio State next week, but I think this is a must-win if we even want to get into a bowl game. So.
You're like, if that's really how you feel, then you're not making a bowl game. I just don't see how anybody's picking Maryland here. I mean, Michigan just played probably the best, most complete game against a good team we've seen them play in 3 or 4 years. I mean, when's the last time Michigan scored 45 points on a good team? It's been a long time and won. So I don't know. Maybe they have some kind of huge hangover and Maryland hangs around, but I don't expect that to happen. I hope for your sake it does. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. I have a question about the game, though. Would you consider this a trap game for Michigan? Because next week they have a bye, and they're on the road this Saturday coming off a big win against Notre Dame.
It's impossible. No. I don't understand where this idea came from that every time somebody says a favorite has a chance to lose, it means it's a trap game. I don't understand. People don't know. A trap game is when you overlook a game because you have a big game the next week. If Michigan has a bye next week, then by definition, this cannot be a trap game.
Okay.
The trap game for Michigan is whoever they play the week before they play Ohio State or the week before they play Notre Dame. That's a trap game. This is why teams schedule bye weeks before big games when they can. This is why Georgia has a bye week before Florida. This is why LSU and Alabama are both off this week. It's not a trap game just because a team is a big favorite. That's not what trap game means.
Okay. And one other quick point before you let me go. I do have your dogs winning this afternoon, 24-23. Thanks for taking my call, Lou, and have a good morning.
You too, sir. Another smart caller there, picking the good guys to get a good win today. Can't say that I blame him. Slim Shady Canes, thank you for the super chats, sir. Daniel Boone off that horse. I'm not going to get into a whole speech about Florida State's horse thing like I've done a couple of times before, but if Florida State loses today, I will probably have something to say about that tomorrow morning. If I have time. If Georgia loses today, the majority of tomorrow's "Your Season is Over" video will probably be dedicated. It would be a memorial service for Georgia's season, but we'll see. Yeah, good morning, Nat. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay, good.
I'd like to start off with the Gators.
Okay.
I just wanted to call in because I hate the fact that you got some sorry Miami fan calling in, being on Georgia's side, which that really just hurts my stomach right there.
Well, you don't expect a Miami fan to be on Florida's side, do you?
No, I don't expect them to do anything but just sit on the sideline where his garbage team is. That's what I expect. I tell you what, the favorite show I ever seen you do was the one when Georgia lost.
That's everyone's
and you would sit around looking.
That's everyone's favorite. That doesn't make you special.
And I hope that the Gators can get it together today, and we just beat the shit out of Georgia. I'm sorry for what I did.
No, I know you hope that.
Sorry.
Of course you hope that. But
I'm
what's
really
sad? What's sad is that you mostly hope that so that you can watch an Uncle Lou loss video. Like, watching an Uncle Lou loss video is more important to you than your team actually winning. Which is a
not
compliment
true.
to
That's
me.
not
I mean,
true.
I'm doing
That is
my
not
job
true.
at an A+ level, so I appreciate that.
Listen, I didn't say you weren't doing your job really good. You do your job real good, man. I love watching your show. But at the same time, I just don't want to see all these fans calling in, jumping on the Florida Gators because we're doing good right now, and we finna do an upset today.
What was your record last year when you played Georgia?
Well, we're not talking about last year.
I'm just asking a question because you said you're doing good this year.
Has nothing to do with this year. This is a whole new year.
You said you're doing good this year. You were doing good last year, were you not? Is 7-1 not a good record? Is 6-1 not a good record? I mean, you were doing good last year.
But last year has nothing to do with this year. Last year is last year. We got stats for last year, but last year is last year. We're talking about this year. We're talking about whooping that ass this year. That's what we're talking about.
Well, good luck. I mean,
And,
I heard all this last year. That's the point I'm making. I heard all this last year. We got Dan Mullen. We're 6-1. We're a top 10 team. McElwain's gone. We're winning, and you got smoked by 3 touchdowns. So,
well, you got a quarterback. Y'all got a quarterback that can't even throw 20 yards.
How many did he put up on you last year?
He's having complications right now. He's supposed to be so good. We got a quarterback that ain't played since, 9th grade, doing almost just as better than Jake Fromm is. That's pathetic. What you say about that?
I don't have anything to say about that. What do you want me to say?
I'm just saying, you want to talk about our play. I'm talking about what we're doing right now.
And what is
right now? We're looking.
And what is Jake Fromm's record against Florida?
Well, what is it? What is he? 0-2?
No. He's
2-0.
2-0. Jake Fromm, this terrible Georgia quarterback that can't throw the ball 20 yards, according to you, is 2-0 against Florida with a combined score of 75-24.
Okay, but you're talking about past games. I'm talking about the stats that he has this year. He's not doing so good this year. Y'all just paid a lot of cupcakes, made it look pretty good. But hell, South Carolina exposed you.
He's never done great. I mean, he beat you 42. He beat you 42-7 and completed 4 passes, sir. And I mean, do you think Georgia's going to line up in 5 wide and try to throw the ball? No.
Well, I know they're not going to do that. But at the same time, I think we're going to force them to do it.
If I were to tell you that Florida can't run the ball, would that be breaking news to you?
No, there wouldn't be no breaking news.
So I don't know who you think you're talking to, trying to convince me that Jake Fromm's not an elite level quarterback. I don't know. It makes no sense. You can't run the ball. Georgia can't throw the ball. Okay.
That is true. We can't run the ball. That to me that would be breaking news if we did run the ball.
Yeah, and if Jake Fromm throws for 300 yards, that would be breaking news. So both teams have something they do well and something they don't do well. The only thing I can do is look at each team's total body of work. Since you want to talk about this season, Georgia has more total yards per game than Florida. Georgia scores more points per game than Florida. Georgia gives up less yards per game than Florida, and Georgia gives up less points per game than Florida. So Georgia's got a better offense overall. Georgia's got a better defense overall. They score more points, and they give up less points. So
I think we play better teams than what y'all play.
Well, maybe.
At the end of the day, I'm a fan. I just called in to talk trash.
You did a good job. You represented Florida well. Good. I mean, good luck to your team today. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think we're going to humiliate you like we did the last 2 years. I think it's going to be a close game.
And since that caller called in, I hope Miami gets stumped like 73-0. Have a nice day.
All right, you too, buddy. I appreciate somebody that calls in, talks trash, keeps it football. Appreciate that. Apparently that's a skill that not a whole lot of people possess. Jay Rizzle, you think SEC gets 2 teams in the playoffs? I think it's possible. It depends what happens. It depends on the score of the LSU-Alabama game. I don't think it matters who wins in terms of getting 2 teams in. I just think the score matters. It's got to be a close game because the second team is going to be if a second SEC team gets in, it's going to be whoever loses the LSU-Alabama game. So it's got to be a close game. I think you might need Oklahoma to lose another game. You might need Utah and Oregon to win the Pac-12 with 2 losses. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it would come down to because I get asked this question a lot, and when I get asked this question, there's 3 things I'm assuming. Number 1, I'm assuming Clemson is getting in. Number 2, I'm assuming Ohio State is getting in. Number 3, I'm assuming the SEC champion is getting in. Okay, so that leaves 1 available spot between either the Big 12 champion, the Pac-12 champion, a second SEC team, or not very many people talk about this, a second Big 10 team. I mean, Ohio State and Penn State is setting up to be just like LSU Bama. You could have a team that doesn't win its division but is sitting there at 11-1. Whoever loses the Ohio State-Penn State game is not likely to lose another game. So I think this would be the toughest year yet to pick the 4th team if you've got Oklahoma winning the Big 12 with 1 loss, Oregon or Utah winning the Pac-12 with 1 loss, and either Penn State or Ohio State sitting at 11-1 with either Alabama or LSU sitting at 11-1. That would be the toughest decision the committee has made yet in my mind on who to put into that 4th spot. And again, a lot can change between now and then. When I talk about this right now, though, I'm assuming Clemson runs the table and gets in. I'm assuming a Big Ten team, the Big Ten champ is getting in, and the SEC champ is getting in. So I'm assuming 3, and then we're trying to figure out who the 4th would be. A second SEC team, a second Big Ten team, Oklahoma, or the Pac-12 champ. I'm not sure what they would do in that scenario. I think it would be a tough decision for them to make. Probably the toughest they've had to make. I think that would be much tougher than the decision they had last year between, say, Georgia and Oklahoma, because Georgia had 2 losses. They lost in the regular season and they lost in the SEC title game. In this scenario here, you're going to have 1-loss teams that are looking to get in, not 2-loss teams. So I think that'll be a tougher decision. Peach State Pride, thank you for the super chat. Swift runs the ball down your throat. Dogs on top. I mean, a lot of Florida fans are making a big deal about Jake Fromm not being able to throw the ball well. To me, this is not breaking news. I mean, this is something Uncle Lou has been saying for 3 years now. And Georgia still managed to win a whole bunch of games, including 2 blowouts against Florida. So, now, if you want to call me up and say you're going to stop Georgia's run game, then that's a problem. Then Georgia has a problem. Because if Georgia can't run the ball, they can't win, period. And that should be what Florida, and I'm sure that's what Florida's coaching staff and players are focusing on. It's just the fans that call up and say, but Georgia can't throw the ball. Everyone knows that, including Florida's coaching staff and defensive players. So they're preparing to stop Georgia's run. That's how you beat Georgia. You beat Georgia by stopping the run. You don't beat Georgia by stopping Jake Fromm because you don't have to. But if you hold Georgia under 4 yards per carry, you will win. If you hold Georgia under 4 yards per carry, you will. Jake Fromm is winless when Georgia runs for less than 4 yards per carry. So shut the run game down and win. That's what it's going to come down to. So Swift, Zeus, Harrion, James Cook, shut those guys down. Florida will win the game. And again, that's not insider information. Everyone knows that. Knowing it and doing it are not the same thing. I think Florida's front 4 is elite at rushing the quarterback. I don't think I'm not saying Florida's run defense is bad. That's not what I'm saying. But Florida's front four is even the strength of Florida's front four is rushing the quarterback. They're still good at stopping the run. I'm not saying they're bad at stopping the run, but the strength of Zuniga and those guys, Dinar, whatever the hell his name is getting to the quarterback. All right? So we'll see what they can do. I think it's going to be a good game. And if, like I said, if Florida or anyone else shuts down Georgia's run game, you will beat Georgia, period. But it doesn't really do any good or make a whole lot of sense to spend all week talking about how Jake Fromm can't throw the ball. He couldn't throw the ball last year either when Georgia beat you 36-17. He couldn't throw the ball in 2017 when they beat you 42-7. I mean, he had 4 completions in 2017, and we beat you by 5 touchdowns. So, and then last year he had probably his best game, probably his most complete. Yeah, probably his best and most complete game of his career was last year's Florida game. What did he do in that game last year? 17 of 24, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's hard to find a game from better than that. Now, he had more yards against Alabama last year. He had right at 300. But they were all in the first half. In the second half, he disappeared. This was a complete game here for Fromm against Florida. Probably his best, most complete game he's ever played. 17 of 24, 240 yards, and 3 touchdowns last year. And I'm not even looking at the comments, but I'm 100% sure that right now there's a Florida fan typing that one of their defensive backs was injured. Well, again, injuries happen, okay? Deal with it. Then it's the next man up. You have 85 scholarships, same as Georgia. What's the problem here, okay? All right, we're gonna run through the rest of these calls, and then that's gonna be it for the show. Okay, so 248, you're next, then 901, then 256, then 615, and 218. You'll be like a Minnesota fan, man. I can't wait to get to that guy. Sam, is that what it says his name is? Man, row the boats, Minnesota fan. We'll be with you in just a second here. Let me run through these calls and that. Good morning, y'all. With Uncle Lou.
Hey, Lou, it's Dana M. How you doing today?
Hey, doing good, man. What's going on?
I am doing great. Man, so you know how, I think it was a couple years ago, Harbaugh took the Wolverines out to the Vatican, give them a change up of scenery?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually pretty cool. I was reading online today. So for our bye week this week, he's actually taking the team out to the East Coast. There's a little practice facility out there around Washington, D.C. area. There's actually a little community college who's actually been kind enough to let us use their main facility for practice. I think it'll be good for the run game, and I think the team will do really well.
Maybe. I mean, a lot of this weird stuff that Harbaugh does just doesn't seem to be helping. I mean, taking his team down to Georgia and Florida for spring practice that one year, thinking that would give him some sort of recruiting advantage, spend the night parties at some high school field goal kicker's house, taking the kids to the Vatican for no reason. I think a 1-point win over Ohio State would do more for Michigan's program than all of that stuff combined.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. And, I'm just fooling around, I'm poking at Maryland. But, no, I think, as far as this week goes, I think Michigan rolls. The only thing that concerns me, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not, but mentality. You always talk about how, teams coming off of big wins, Michigan obviously coming off a big win last week, going into this Maryland game, you think they might be over their heads and kind of look past them, looking towards Michigan State?
a lot of times I feel that way. I don't feel that way about this game. I think maybe it's because Maryland is really just that bad. But I don't expect any type of a letdown from Michigan. In fact, I think in this case, I think it could have the opposite effect. I mean, it's been so long since we saw Michigan not only win a game that big, but just completely dominate it, especially offensively. Like, it's been a long time since we've seen that from Michigan, and I think that could actually be a good thing for them, as opposed to a lot of times you do see a letdown after a big win. I don't think that's going to happen this week with Michigan.
Yeah, I sure hope not. Yeah, I'm hoping last week was a spark. And honestly, I'm hoping that when that Ohio State game comes around, it's raining like cats and dogs, because that rain was the greatest thing that could have happened to us last week against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I know Ohio State's run defense is obviously 100,000 times better than Notre Dame's. But I don't know. I'm grasping for straws with that Ohio State game at this point. It's not looking too hot.
I mean, it's setting up to sort of the way last year did. Like, people were real high on Michigan heading into the season. Then you lost to Notre Dame. Everyone forgot about Michigan, quit talking about Michigan, and then in November, Michigan got red hot and started beating teams by 40 points every single week, to the point where when y'all played Ohio State last year, you were the favorite. And it's that same sort of thing is setting up now. Everyone wrote Michigan off 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then you come out and blow out Notre Dame. Let's see if the same sort of thing happens. Can Michigan go out and dominate their next 3 or 4 games leading up to that Ohio State game? That'll be interesting to keep an eye on. But good luck to you today against Maryland. Appreciate the call, Dane. We'll talk to you again. We'll talk to you again soon. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, good morning in that, too.
Morning, Uncle Lou. Slim Shady. How are you on this glorious morning?
Slim, what's up, buddy? I'm doing good.
Well, first of all, to deal with the that last Waterhead Florida fan that thinks they're going to stop Georgia's run game. Florida couldn't stop Miami's run game. What makes you think you're going to stop Georgia's?
Yeah, bad news. That is bad news, man. Reality is knocking.
Yeah, pretty much. I honestly, I don't even see that game being close.
Oh.
I mean,
Don't
their
tell them
offense,
that.
their offense made Tennessee's defense look good.
Oh, stop it. Stop it, man. It's not. Well, hold on. 10:05 in the morning. Too early to ask Florida fan to swallow that bitter pill.
Have I said something that's false? I mean, until Tennessee's defense wore out, they were giving Florida's offense all they wanted.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
Including giving that ball back to Tennessee's offense 3 times.
Was Florida losing to Kentucky by 3 scores in the second half this year?
Somewhere. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, my God. They act like none of this stuff ever happened just because they barely lost to LSU.
Bless their pea-picking little hearts. But no, I think Georgia's going to win for the same reason. I think Miami's going to win. 9 times out of 10, the better defense beats the better offense. Pure and simple. Don't stroke out on us.
Hey, Rue. What are you doing? About to do what? You going to the fair? Florida thinks they're going to beat Georgia just because they barely lost to LSU. You still there? Had technical difficulties.
I was trying to make sure you didn't stroke out. I was fixing to call an ambulance.
No, I'm good. I had to check on something. You there?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
here.
All right.
Whew. All right. But no, like I said, I think Georgia's going to win for the same reason Miami's going to win today. Better defenses tend to come out on top.
Yeah.
And Miami and Florida State's offense are, if you look up the rankings, they're actually pretty close together. But Miami's defense is lights and away better than Florida State's defense. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor in that game, as well as the Georgia and Florida game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think it's possible Florida gets a huge moral victory today to add to their list. I mean, I don't know if you've heard, but they finished third in the East last year. They're very proud of that. They talked about it all off season. Of course, we just mentioned
now
they barely
is second in the East going to be enough to save Dan Mullen's job?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, they had Jim McElwain for 3 years.
Yep.
All he did was win the division 2 out of 3 years. What if Mullen goes 0 for 2? Might be time to make a change.
That's a serious off-season question.
Yeah. He's definitely on the hot seat, though. You know he's a Florida man, don't you? I don't know if you.
I've heard that rumor.
Okay, yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I've heard that too. But yeah, they finished third in the East. Won double-digit games. They had the 9th recruiting class or something like that. Well, on signing day they did. By the time the season started, it was like the 28th or something because they lost half their. Anyway, but a bunch of moral victory. I mean, and listen, finishing second in the East is nothing to be ashamed of. I don't know if do they make we finish second in the East banners that Florida can put in their stadium to go next to their SEC East title banners that they hang there from 15 and 16? To look into that. I might get one
get it
made.
from the. They'll get it from the same company. They have to custom order them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that company that makes those.
Because I believe they have a third place in the East banner as well.
Yeah, and I think the company that makes those is actually headquartered in Gainesville, Florida. And I think Florida might be their only client, too, and as well. So, anyway, hey, I'm going to let you run. I got to get through the rest of these calls so I can wrap the show up. But good luck to your Canes today, sir. I'm gonna be. I'll be keeping an eye. I really wish that game wasn't coming on the same time Georgia Florida, because there's not a whole lot of good games on today. But those are two of my favorites today. Obviously Georgia Florida, and then the Miami Florida State. I wish they weren't coming on at the same time. But anyway, it is what it is. Good luck.
I agree.
Good luck to you, sir. And we'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure, win or lose. That guy sticks around. He's not like some of these other people like Deep Barat, Gamecock Steve, and a lot of these Florida fans that'll be gone from this channel at 6:30 this evening. Whoever's calling in from a 404 number, I keep dropping the call. It's because we're just getting through these last of these calls. So I'm sorry you couldn't get through today. The next call-in show will be Tuesday night at 10. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's going on, Lou? How you doing, man?
Doing good. What's up, buddy?
Oh, man, I want to call in real quick, man. Obviously a Bama fan. This your boy Rashad Bourne, Omega Sci-Fi, from down here in Bama, calling in to see what you guys going to do today, man. You know, no dog in the fight for real. Just enjoying a great game, man.
I think it will be a good game. I don't think it'll be a blowout, sort of like it has been the last couple of years. I think it will be closer, maybe even a one-score game, but I still like Georgia. I just think I think Georgia's going to come out and do enough to get the win.
I'm going to say this, man, from the outside. I think the world is going to see a real Georgia team come out today. I felt like this actually for a couple of weeks now, man. You guys are destined for that one big game, and I think today the world going to see it, man. It's weird listening to these Florida fans, man, and no disrespect to the Florida fans, but I really believe they're going to get exposed today. I really do.
Yeah.
You know, people kind of got on you guys for not really blowing out Tennessee, but then you see what Tennessee has put together the last 4 or 5 weeks, man. They fought with Georgia for about, 2.5 quarters maybe. Yeah. They beat Mississippi State like a drum, came back and fought with Alabama, and just now smoked South Carolina. And they better be careful today, too. UAB coming in there with the Super Bowl mentality.
Oh, I know.
You know, Tennessee. they better be careful.
Yeah.
You take UAB lightly, man, they'll catch an L. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
and
so
before last weekend, a lot of people were on UAB to win that game, and now all of a sudden Tennessee comes out and puts together a really good game over South Carolina, and you haven't heard a lot of people talking about the Tennessee UAB game. But something I said earlier this week, and you know this, any big college football fan knows this, but one of the biggest differences between the top 7, 8, 9, 10 teams and almost everyone else is the ability to play at your best week in and week out.
Week in and week out.
Very hard to do. And we've even seen Nick Saban, who's a master motivator and probably the greatest ever at getting the most out of his team almost every single week. But, like losses to Ole Miss. I can name any program. I'm just using Alabama because you're on the program,
no problem. Yeah, I feel you,
very
man.
hard to play at your best week in and week out. And unfortunately, for teams that aren't nearly as talented as Alabama, like Tennessee, they have to play at that level almost to beat almost anybody. So we'll see if they're able to play sort of with that same energy and everything this week that they did last week. But that could be an interesting game. And Tennessee fans were so happy last weekend after that blowout of South Carolina.
I know.
And you imagine if they lose tonight, it's just all those positive vibes are just gone. That'll be interesting.
Let me say this real quick before I get off. I want to go, I'll shout out to all the Georgia and Florida fans, man. We watching. We got to buy, obviously, so we get to kick back and watch you guys. But my prediction, I say easily, Georgia 35, Florida 17, man. Georgia going to do their thing today. Everybody going to see the Georgia that we've been waiting to see, and I think you're going to see it today, bro. It's good to have a little chip there on your shoulder every once in a while. Georgia is experiencing the same thing Bama has experienced. When you Georgia, when you Alabama, everybody hates you. But when you lose, when you win, you hear crickets. Yeah. When you lose, you get all these Colonel Sanders coming out the woodworks. See, I told you. So, hey, man, go do y'all thing, Lou. I'll be watching, bro.
All right, Rashad. Thanks for the call, buddy. I appreciate it. Good luck against the Corn Dogs next week, too. I can't wait for that one, man.
Exactly.
That's going to be a big game. I cannot wait for that LSU-Bama game. I'm glad they're both off this week, so there's zero chance of either one of them losing. I want to see that. I want to see that undefeated versus undefeated, right? That's going to be a good one. All right, a couple more phone calls here. Good morning, Nat. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Good morning, young man. How are you?
Doing great.
All right. Well, I called in with a couple things here. Okay. I've been in a troll box down there, and I've been hearing old Slim Shady talk about a lot of crap about the Seminoles and all that stuff. So, I just want to call him out and let him know that, come Tuesday night, or actually Monday morning on the Monday show, which I love, by the way, I expect a heartfelt apology to all the Seminole Nation for all the bad jokes he's been telling. Okay? And Georgia, Lou, you have no worries today, man. This game's going to be over by halftime. Gator fans, they're going to be crying again.
Tell him.
Florida
don't tell him, man. Don't tell him. Let it be a surprise.
Oh, yeah. Look, hey, this is coming from the original Gator hater. By halftime, the game's going to be over. Everybody can cut over and watch the Seminoles beating the shit out of the Hurricanes as usual. And, of course, Slim Shady would know where you could get those second and third place banners because they have to hang them every year in the state of Florida where they get their ass whipped by who? The Seminoles. Thank you very much. The only thing the Gators did was steal Gatorade from the Seminoles. Come on now. Let's be honest. They've been thieves and crackheads since they've been a damn university. And, hey, ladies, by the way, when you put on that nappy-ass orange, whether it be from Miami, whether it be from Florida, or it be that god-awful place up there on top of that hill they call Tennessee, it adds 30 pounds to your ass. Realize it and don't wear it. Come on. And now, let's get to some of these other realizations here going on in the world. This pay-for-play shit. Look, the solution is, if you're a freshman, You're a student athlete. You're on a campus. You get $11 an hour when you're doing anything that's related to athletic prowess. You punch a time clock. Let's be real. These kids half of them are going to have to punch a time clock for the rest of their lives anyway. They might as well learn how to do it now. They can punch a time clock. You're a freshman, you get $11 an hour. You're a sophomore, you get a raise. If your academics are excellent, you get a raise. Let's just do it like that. Every college in the country makes enough money to pay these kids $10, $12, $15 an hour and give them a dollar bump every year. They get a damn academic you-ha-ha up their ass. But these kids over here are just driving me crazy. They need to be paid. The NCAA is overrated. College football is the best thing there is in the country. Whether you're a Seminole, a Hurricane, a Gator, a Dog, a Vol, it's still the best business in the world.
That's right.
It's making money out the butt. These kids need to be getting a little something so they can go take their dates to Popeyes and choke down some chicken or whatever they need to.
Yeah.
And Lou, that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, they'll get it figured
And
out.
I
I think
appreciate
it's got a
you.
couple of years to work on it. Thank you for the call, sir. Enjoy your college.
No, thank
football
you, Lou.
Saturday.
Love your show.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for the morning show too. You mentioned, we're having a good time on those morning shows. If you haven't seen the morning shows yet, you should check them out. They're not all football related. We mix some other stuff in. So anyway, just check them out. I think you'll like them. Darren McCardle, thank you for the super chat, sir. I have Miami +3 and Florida +7 today. Good luck with your bets, sir. I took Florida +6.5 when I did the preview video. I think it'll be a one-score game. We'll see. All right, last call. Let's see what this is about here. I think this is the row your boat. Let's see. Yeah, good morning in that.
Good morning. My name is Sam.
Good morning, Sam.
Yeah, I'm a Minnesota.
Did you?
I'm a Minnesota fan, as you probably saw earlier.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Minnesota. Row your boat. Undefeated Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Yeah, I get that you like to make fun of Minnesota for being like the worst undefeated team you've ever seen. I don't think you're giving us quite enough credit.
Well, let me ask you this. Where would you rank Minnesota right now?
Right now, like 12th, 13th in the nation, somewhere around there.
I'm willing to buy that right now until they play and beat somebody with a winning record.
Yeah, right now I'm feeling like they have a ceiling record of like if literally everything goes right, 11-1, bottom 9-3.
11-1, 9-3. I think to be undefeated this late in the season, I think 9-3 would be a disappointment. I think at this point. Now, if you'd have told people at the beginning of the year 9-3, they'd probably be okay with that. But I think now people's expectations obviously are a little bit higher.
Yeah,
but,
I think we definitely.
You're off this week. I mean, I see where 9-3. If you go 9-3, that's losing to all three good teams that you play. Right?
Which I don't think they will. I think they'll beat Iowa, and I think they could beat Wisconsin.
You know what the problem is here? I think Penn State is a lot better. You get them at home.
They are.
I don't think that's enough to make a difference in that game. Iowa, on the other hand, you play at Iowa. If I was a Minnesota fan, I would love to switch that around and just say, forget it. We're probably going to lose to Penn State anyway. Let's go play at Penn State, but give me Iowa at home because I like our chances there. At Iowa, tough place to play, and then you get Wisconsin at home too. I think you'll beat Northwestern. Whatever. I mean, they're a 1 or 2 win team. They're terrible, even though you got to play them there. So those are your 4 remaining games: Penn State, at Iowa, at Northwestern, and then you finish up home against Wisconsin. If you lose 3 of those 4, that's disappointing, and Uncle Lou was right. If you lose all 3 of those, then you were the worst 8-0 team in college football history. If you lose 3 of those 4
Yeah,
games.
I think what could happen, though, is I think with Wisconsin, I think we might beat Wisconsin just because I remember Miami 2 years ago when they just kind of went on that downhill spiral. I think that might be what happening with Wisconsin.
Could be. What is Wisconsin's record right now? They lost to Ohio State and Illinois.
6-2.
So they have 2. Wisconsin needs you to lose 2 games, and one of those 2 games they need you to lose to them if they want to win the division. You know?
Which, I mean, they have one pretty much guaranteed with Penn State because Penn State's better than us.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
I think Minnesota keeps it pretty close with Penn State. My score prediction was 27-13.
Yeah, that's another big one next week too. So that game comes on at noon. So we'll have Penn State, Minnesota, 2 undefeated teams at noon. And then at 3:30 we'll have LSU, Bama, 2 more undefeated teams. So the noon and the 3:30 time slot for next weekend is setting up to be some pretty good games there.
By the way, did you see that press conference with the Minnesota coach PJ Fleck just begging for game day to go there?
I know, but that's sad.
Oh yeah, it was it was really bad.
They want them there for the Penn State game?
Yeah.
They usually don't announce where they're going until Sunday, till tomorrow.
Yeah, but it'll be LSU Bama for sure.
Would be my guess, yeah.
Although Fleck's argument was that game day is about unique stories, and Minnesota with 8-0 is a unique story, I guess. So.
Yes. That is unique. I'll give you that. Hard to say no to LSU, Bama, both undefeated, 2 top 5 teams, though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'd love for game day to come to Minnesota, but I think you got to go to the number 1 and 2 team in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not
and
really.
And then we're going to have to listen to all the people who are football ignorant whine and cry about how they only go into LSU, Bama because they're SEC homers and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, what's the biggest game today?
Biggest game today, Georgia, Florida.
And where's game day?
Where are they? Are they?
Exactly.
They are Georgia, Florida, right?
No.
What?
No.
Oh, where are they?
But that's sort of the point. No one knows. But they're in Memphis today.
I mean, I respect it. It's a big group of 5 game, but not Georgia, Florida, really. Although I think it might be because of LSU, Bama next week that they're not going to Georgia, Florida.
Could be. And I have the same opinions and feelings about College Game Day, the TV show, that I have about actual college football games. And I know this is crazy. This is weird. I get it. I just think college football games should be played on college campuses. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I just feel like college football games should be played at colleges. And I just feel like College Game Day Live should be broadcast from a campus. So, again, apparently I'm in the minority here with these people who don't care where these games are played. But I think that's another reason why they're at the Memphis game today instead of Florida versus Georgia.
Oh, yeah, I don't like neutral site games. I'm fine with, like, Miami Stadium. That's okay. I don't like neutral site games, though.
I'm fine with bowl games. It's a reward. Great. Take your team to Tampa or whatever for the Outback Bowl that you made it into for getting 8 or 9 wins. Go to Disney World, whatever. Fine, great, a reward, amazing. But these week 1 games, these week 1 neutral site games, no. These rivalry games played at neutral site fields in the middle of the season, no. That goes for Georgia, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, whoever else is playing in the middle of nowhere for no reason. I don't like that. Get the games on college campuses. Quit with all these week 1 neutral site. And basically they're basically week 1 bowl games. Why? We don't need that. A reward for an amazing offseason? No.
Yeah, honestly. And then one more question. So I saw this brought up recently, but I think it's now needs to be brought up that theoretically the Baylor Bears could maybe go undefeated because Oklahoma doesn't look as good, and Baylor could outscore them twice maybe, and Texas is just. Ugh.
I had some
But
of those
if the
same
Baylor
feelings
Bears,
too, and that's why I watched a lot of the Baylor game this past Thursday night because I'll admit I haven't watched a lot of Baylor, but I watched almost all of the second, third, and fourth quarter of that Baylor-West Virginia game for the same reason. I wanted to know, okay, can they beat Oklahoma? And after watching the game, the answer is clearly no. Maybe that was just a bad game for Baylor. I don't know. Now their defense looked pretty good, but again, it was against West Virginia. But their offense just looked pitiful for the majority of the game.
it did, but I think at this point, Matt Rule is in the conversation to be a top 10, top 15 coach in the nation. So it's tough to say, but I also saw it brought up that even if Baylor goes undefeated, they might not make the playoff because Oklahoma, let's say they beat Oklahoma twice, that might drop Oklahoma into like the mid-20s. Texas is not very good, and then their non-con was a joke. So
okay, so who would get in over a 13-0 Baylor? A one-loss Oregon?
I think so, yeah, because the thing is, I don't know if you've ever seen Baylor's non-conference schedule. It was Stephen F. Austin, Rice, who they only beat by 8, and then some other trash team that I can't quite remember. It wasn't a Power 5 team, that's for sure.
If there's ever a 13-0 Power 5 team that they don't put in, it would be interesting. I can't imagine that happening. I'll just be honest. I can't imagine a 13-0 Power 5 team that beat Oklahoma twice not getting into the playoff.
But
I can't imagine that.
Those two losses for Oklahoma plus the Kansas State loss that they already have would drop them pretty low in the rankings, so that wouldn't be as good of a win or wins.
If LSU loses to Alabama twice in the same season, does that mean LSU is not any good? Anyway, I'm just saying, I don't see that happening. You're going to put a one-loss Oregon who couldn't beat the third best team in the SEC West in a neutral field, Auburn, would get in over a 13-0 Baylor that had 2 wins over Oklahoma. I don't see that happening.
And it's unlikely. I'm just saying that if things fell the right way, like I think there's a chance. I don't know about Oregon, but I think the the second place finisher in the SEC West with 11-1 could get in over an undefeated Baylor.
I would have a big problem with that. Now a one loss, fine. But a 13-0 Power 5 team, I just don't see how you keep them out. But we'll see. Hey, thank you for the call. I got to let you go. Already running way behind today. No bueno. Yeah, it's no good in that. Yeah. Slim Shady says a Jameis Winston fan is going to call Miami Hurricanes criminals. Really? Jameis Winston broke every law known to man. That entire Florida State team was nothing but criminals that year. What was that guy's name? Bobo Wilson? Guy was charged with 8 felonies. Every single one of them was reduced to a misdemeanor. Magic how that happens. Just unbelievable. But that whole place was crooked down there during that time period. I mean, the campus police, the administration, the athletic department, and Tallahassee PD were just all in cahoots. Yeah, just a cabal. Yeah. Game Day went to Memphis before. They'll go to Minnesota. Let that sink in. Might be too cold up there in the land of 1,000 lakes there at Minnesota. Game Day might. Do you really want to take college game day to a state that elected Jesse the Body Ventura? I don't know. I'm just axing. I'm just axing. Darren McCart, Alabama could lose to LSU and Auburn. No, it's not happening. This idea that Auburn is going to beat Georgia and Alabama because they beat them in 2017 is one of the dumbest football arguments I've heard all year long. The reason why such a big deal is made out of Auburn 2017 and the fact that they had 2 losses, but then went on the road, or then played at home against a top 5 Georgia and a top 5 Alabama and beat them both. The reason that's such a big deal is because it's rare. It was unbelievable that Auburn won either of those 2 games. The fact that they won both was just insane and not likely to happen again. Now, could Georgia have a terrible year or Bama have a terrible year? Yeah. And Auburn beats them or something? Yeah. A 2-loss Auburn team, if Georgia wins today, Auburn won't beat either a 1-loss. If Georgia gets to that game, if Georgia's good enough to beat Florida, they're not losing to Auburn. I had plenty of time to talk about the Barner. I pissed them off enough this week with the Joey Gatewood thing. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right, you guys know the schedule for today, don't you? Yeah, you should. You're supposed to, and also DJ Doom. 31-30. I thought he was an Alabama fan. I see. What did I tell y'all earlier? Alabama fans do not want to see Georgia in the SEC championship game. So here you go. Bubblegum Gump over here pulling for Florida. Keep up the good work, sir. But schedule today, I will have a halftime video for the Georgia-Florida game. I will have a post-game video for the Georgia-Florida game. Win, lose, close, blowout. You think UNCLELOU's going anywhere no matter what happens, you're sadly mistaken. So I'll have the post-game and the halftime videos for the Georgia-Florida game. I'm live streaming the Georgia-Florida game on the Patreon page. So to all you Patreon members, make sure you know the routine by now. Check the Patreon page around 3 or 3:15. There'll be a link posted. Click the link. It will take you to the live stream for the Georgia-Florida game. You guys can watch me lose my mind for 3.5 hours. And hopefully I don't break anything, but we'll see. If you're not on the Patreon page yet and you want to get signed up, just click the link in the description of this video or any video that I've uploaded that says support the channel and join the Patreon page or whatever. It'll take you to the Patreon page. You can get yourself signed up and then join us for that live stream today for the Georgia-Florida game at 3:30. All right. Anything else crazy happens or whatever, big upsets, whatever, I'll upload something on that too. But at the minimum, you'll get a halftime video for Georgia-Florida, a post-game video for Georgia-Florida, and the game stream over on the Patreon page at 3:30. All right, appreciate you guys watching. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 350 people watching. Amazing! I hope everybody enjoys your Saturday. I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to eat today. I haven't figured it out. The game's not till 3:30, so I got a little bit of time. I go to the store or something maybe. I don't know. I got to figure it out. Shout out to all the callers. Great callers today. And appreciate you guys tuning in. The next live show will be Monday morning at 8 a.m., the new morning show. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 a.m. Tune in if you haven't. We have a good time on that one. It's a little different than anything else we do here on the channel. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on it. So if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure you check it out. Tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, will be the Your Season is Over video. And either Georgia or Florida will be very prominently featured in that video. And probably Florida State or Miami will be in it for the 4th or 5th time this season too. So anyway, again, appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day.